Good evening, class. So glad you are joining us tonight. As you know, we are working our way through the tribes, and we are nearing the end of our study of the tribes and where they are today. And so we have started last week on the tribe of Asher. And so if you have your notes, if you would turn to page 3. And we are looking at the descendants of the tribe of Asher. And Asher's sons were Beriah, Jimnah, Ishua, and Iswi. And so if you will look at note 14, you're going to look at the descendants of Beriah. And Beriah, from whom the Brigantes and the Burgundians descend, and we talked a little bit about those last week, had 2 sons. So now we're looking at Beriah's sons. Heber, Heber, and sometimes when you will look up this name, it may be spelled with a Cheber, and I will just tell you this, even though that in Hebrew that spelling would be identical, the pronunciation would be identical, the spelling can be a little bit different, because there was a time when it was a little bit different, because it had a guttural CH sound, and as well as the H sound. But today, in modern Hebrew, there is no difference, which is why sometimes you will see, for example, the holiday of Hanukkah, sometimes you'll see it spelled with an H-A-N, and other times you'll see it C-H-A-N. It doesn't matter because the pronunciation is the same unless you give it that guttural sound. Now, Hebrew will give it that guttural sound. Hanukkah. Okay, but today, whether you see it CH or H, it's Hanukkah. So it's the same way with Heber. So you had the names Rugini, Rogan, Rugen. Remember, they were all in connection with the Vandals, and they you kept going on and on and on, and so you had a Heber in that line. But this Heber is the son of Beriah and also Malchiel. And you will see this in Numbers 26:45. And of course, the book of Numbers has to do with the numbering of the children of Israel, detailing them. And Numbers 26:45, it says, of the sons of Beriah, of Heber, the family of the Heberites, of Malchiel, the family of the Malchielites. Now, in note 15, we have Heber of Asher gave rise to the Ligai and nearby Lugi. And these people groups formed the basis in Europe. So they're in Europe, these descendants of the tribe of Asher, in Europe, on which the Vandal Federation built itself. So you can see the tribe of Asher very much a part of the Vandal people groups. And the names Ligai and Lugi are derived from a root implying union or alliance. And remember, we discussed that even last week. There's something about the tribe of Asher that they had this innate characteristic of wanting to band together and get into a union with others. They were no lone rangers. They were always wanting to have alliances and unions. And so this root gives us our modern English word. Anyone want to take a stab at what that modern English word is? I will tell you, it once was the name of an organization following World War I. Now it's called the United Nations. Then it was called what? the League of Nations. And it is the word league, L-E-A-G-U-E. And we know that was to be what? A union of nations, an alliance of nations. And so from ligai and lugi comes our modern word league. So Heber in Hebrew has the meaning of union. Now, descendants of the tribe of Asher are found, and they're found in different places, but primarily they are found in Ireland. I-R-E-L-A-N-D. Now, in the land of Israel, before the exile, the tribe of Asher's land allotment encompassed the famous city of Sidon, S-I-D-O-N, Sidon. Sometimes you will hear Tyre and Sidon here together in the Bible. And you actually will see that in the book of Joshua. So in Joshua, the 19th chapter, right there, and verse 28. In what? Oh, Sidon, S-I-D-O-N. Phoenicia city of Sidon. Including Ebron, Rehob, Hammon, and Cana, as far as Greater Sidon. This is giving the land allotment to the tribe of Asher, Joshua. Now, part of the tribe of Asher participated in Phoenician, Sidonian culture and mercantile activities. In other words, now are you seeing something? They're in league with, in alliance with the Phoenicians. Took part in their culture, their trade. And this may explain a Phoenician inscription that was found in the 20th century that read, and this is what it read, you've got it in your notes, Sidon and Yeshurun. Now, that's the same word that you will see in Deuteronomy 33:26, which is Jeshurun. Same word. And the term Yeshurun or Jeshurun is another name of Israel. Israel. I-S-R-A-E-L. And I want to read this to prove to you that I'm telling you the truth in the book of Deuteronomy. And some of you will be very familiar with this scripture because it talks about shoes of iron and brass. You probably remember. Remember the tough shoes for a tough trip? Your shoes will be iron and brass. In Deuteronomy 33:26, it says, there is no one like the God of Jeshurun. Okay, that is the same word as Yeshurun. Because remember I said last week, the Hebrew word for I am that I am is Yahweh. That transliterated into English is Jehovah. So you see the interconnectedness between the Y and the J. Here it's, there is no one like the God of Jeshurun, who rides the heavens to help you, and in his excellency on the clouds. So Asher and Gad were both sons of Jacob by Zilpah. And somewhere in all your notes, you should have a chart that looks like this. If you don't, I can get you one. If you do not have this chart, let me know, and I will make sure you have one. Because basically, this has all of the children of Israel and their mothers. So you can tell the mothers. And so if we get over here to Asher, okay, his mother was Zilpah, Leah's handmaid. So Asher was born to Zilpah, who was Leah's handmaid. Leah, Leah's handmaid. And if you take a look at, you want to take a look at this chart at your convenience, you will see that they were the only sons that Zilpah had. The only sons that Zilpah had were the two sons, Asher and Gad. Okay. So, tribal family relationships, and you're probably going to say this until you get tired of hearing me say this. Tribal family relationships were repeated historically, as seen in the case of Scotland. Remember, the tribes that were close, they either had the same mother. As they would travel and migrate, they would end up close to each other. So the tribe of Asher was predominant in the north of England, in Scotland, and in Ireland. Okay? The tribe of Asher was predominant in the north of England, in Scotland, and in Ireland. So now we've looked at the people groups that descended from Asher. And so Asher, not surprisingly, is found among the Brigantes. They're also found among, and this is the blank, Vandals, V-A-N-D-A-L. Warings and Ligas. So now this is where Asher's found. Now we're going to talk about, briefly, just Gad. Because what? They had the same mother. There would have been a relationship there between the two brothers because they had the same mother, Zilpah. And so Gad was also found in Scotland. And was represented by the Gaedhos of Ireland. And a people group that we know was indeed descendants from the tribe of Gad were the Gadini of Scotland. And there are many evidences of where the tribes went, who they aligned with. So there is a language connection seen to have existed between the Gaelic of Ireland and Scotland. So there's a Gaelic both in Scotland and Ireland. And the Moso-Gothic of the Goths in the Balkans, because Moso-Gothic was spoken by the Vandals. Now let me ask you this question then. Why do you think that there is a language connection between the Gaelic of Ireland and Scotland and the Moso-Gothic of the Goths in the Balkans? Because they were related. The Goths were related to the Vandals, they related to the Brigantes, they were related to the people groups who ended up in Ireland and Scotland. And so you had that Goth and Vandals connection, the Goth and Vandal connection with the people groups of Ireland and Scotland. Now the Scots state by tradition, in other words, it's their tradition. If you go to Scotland and you can go and begin to study what their traditions are, that they descended from the Scyths. So let me ask you this, who are the Scyths or the Scythians? Descendants of Isaac. Okay, so somewhere around there, the descendants of Isaac. And the Goths were regarded as a Scythian people. So when the people group of the Goths, and remember there were different Goths, there were Eastern Goths, there were the Massagetae, Gothic tribe, they were very warlike, strong warriors. And so the Goths were regarded also as a Scythian people, which goes back, when God says something, does he mean it? Yes. And when God says something, is it going to come to pass? Yes. And remember what he told Abraham? He said, through Isaac, your descendants will be named. And so we begin, here we are, looking at people groups whose names go all the way back to Isaac. True that the language changed and the letters sometimes got transcribed, as they often do with different languages, but here they are still identified with their ancestor Isaac. So they say they descended by the Scythians. Now the historian Herodotus said that among the Scythians, so if you will, and you can go online or you can go the old-fashioned way, you can go to a library and look and get a book by the history of Herodotus, and you will see that Herodotus said that among the Scythians, which we know were descendants of Isaac, the raising of pigs was prohibited. So among these Scythians, who obviously were later descendants of Isaac, even though the law was not given until Moses, the children of Israel certainly indeed followed that law, the Mosaic law. And so they would not raise pigs, would not eat pigs. Now all of a sudden, here comes the Scythians, and we're talking about post-exile of the northern kingdoms. They've migrated, and guess what? Somehow, they prohibited the raising of pigs. No pigs here. I would dare say that if you would have asked them at that time, why do you not raise pigs? They would say, I don't know, we've never raised pigs. My father never raised pigs, my grandfather we never raised pigs.
We don't raise pigs.
Now, strangely enough, the Scots, S-C-O-T-S, had a similar prohibition that they say existed from pre-Christian times. So before Scotland was ever a Christian nation, they didn't raise pigs. They probably can't tell you why. They just said, we just never have raised pigs. Well, we know why. It goes back to something that they were taught and that was passed along. We don't raise pigs. Now they lost the meaning because they lost their faith, they lost their language, but there was that tradition, that habit that they get out all the way. They're living in Scotland and they said, we don't raise pigs. Well, why don't you? I don't know. We've just never raised pigs. Okay. But for us who are tracing the tribes, Do you see the little hints, the little breadcrumbs that the Lord gives as those people travel? He said, they went from here to here to here, and they kept the same practices going from here to here to here as they migrated. Now the Vandals of Asher were to become an important group among the Anglo forces. And we have heard a great deal about what the Anglo-Saxons, the Angles and the Saxons. Well, they became very important among the Anglo forces in northern England. England, yes. Any questions? Okay, in note 21, in Ptolemy's geography, and Ptolemy did this geography in the 2nd century AD, so it'd been in the 100s. Britain is referred to as Albion. Now here's what's interesting about this word. We're talking about, in his geography, Britain has the name Albion. And Albion is a Semitic word. Semitic word from the same root as the name Lebanon, and has the same meaning. Has the same meaning. Fruitful, beautiful. Now Lebanon, we're going to look at some connections. So you get to Britain, and Britain is referred to by the name Albion. It's a Semitic word, and it is from the same root word as the name Lebanon. So there's a connection now with Lebanon. Lebanon was geographically a part of the Promised Land and was dominated by the tribe of Asher. Okay, if you would take a look, I don't know if I've got mine handy. If you will take a look at your tribe map. If you can look at your tribe map, which I don't have ready available here. But if you will look at your tribal allotment maps, you will see that. I do not have it. I should have had it here. If you will look, you will see that that's exactly where it was.
Is this the one, Sister Sheila?
Yes. Yes, so you will see the different tribal maps. If you will look at the tribal allotment map, which, like I said, I have readily available. I usually have them out. I know you all had it when we passed them out to you, but you will see it was in the same place. So Lebanon was dominated by the tribe of Asher. This area was geographically a part of the Promised Land and actually was dominated by the tribe of Asher. So in the area that is modern day Lebanon, the tribe of Asher was dominant. Even though the tribe of Dan also had a foothold on the coast. And I've given you a note there to refer to your tribal allotments map. Aha, I found it. It's upside down, which is why I don't read upside down. Okay, so I'm going to show you just, okay. So this is Asher along the coast. Those of you at home who may or may not have this map. So you can see it was exactly there. You are familiar with Akko, I know you've all been to Mount Carmel. Just above Mount Carmel along the coast, you can look out and see the coast from the top of Mount Carmel. And that's Asher. Now, in Celtic times, the largest single ethnic group in Britain, okay, in other words, if you're looking at all the people groups who were in Britain during Celtic times, the largest single group were the Brigantes, and they were in the north. They were in the north. And we know that they were descended from Beriah, and the Brigantes were descended from Beriah, the son of Asher. So you know you have the Brigantes, and they're living in the north of Britain. And then there's another group, other groups in the north, and they just happened to end up there, right? They just thought, oh, we're just gonna put our finger on someplace. That's where we're gonna go. No, other groups in the north, such as the Ligi or Ligi, also belong to Asher. So the Ligi also belong to Asher, and guess what you have now? You go all the way back, and here come the descendants of Beriah, son of Asher, descendants, people groups out of them, and they begin to migrate. They have migrated from all the way where they were exiled, and they end up in the north of England with their brothers, the descendants of their brother. Okay. Any questions about that? So the physical and climatic state of North Britain, especially Scotland, believe it or not, is very similar to that of Lebanon. Lebanon, yes, Lebanon. It's mountainous, and if you will go into the areas of North Britain and Scotland, it is very mountainous. Rocky, cold, and we know this one wet. Known to be that. Lebanon is North Lebanon, where Asher had its land allotment, very same. So just take a breath and think about this for a minute. God told them, he said, I'm going to scatter you to the ends of the earth. But isn't it interesting that God still cares about his people? And when they migrate from the areas of their land allotment pre-exile, they end up in the same climate that they would have had in their land allotment, their descendants. Listen, this isn't just God just taking his people and I'm just going to throw them out there. No, everything, God's hand was in everything, in their movement, in their placement. And this is an interesting one. Note 23, Albania, in the Caucasus mountain region, also became a Scythian area and was adjacent to place of Israelite resettlement. So the country of Albania in that area was adjacent to a place of Israelite resettlement, where some of these people from the children of Israel, the northern kingdom of Israel, were resettled. And strangely enough, Albania more than likely was named after the land of Lebanon in the kingdom of Israel. And I say this, remember we talked about Britain being called Albion, and in Hebrew that is the same word for Lebanon. It's the same has the very same meaning, Lebanon. And all of a sudden, here they were exiled to this area, and they were taken away from the northern kingdom of Israel. And all of a sudden, they're living here in this place, and that place eventually gets named Albania, after the land of Lebanon. So the land territory of the tribe of Asher stretched throughout Lebanon and Syria. I want to throw out a question to you. When you look at the land allotments in the end times, and by the way, it's much larger than the current land allotment for the nation of Israel. And actually, the land allotment in the end times is going to go further even than it was at the time of King David, which the kingdom of King David was the largest it ever was under any king. And yet, the land allotment in the end times even goes beyond that. So when everybody says, oh, well, this land's occupied and that land's occupied, and all I say to that is, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and he can give it to anyone he wants to give it to, and he already has declared how he's going to divide that. And it's interesting, this is a sidebar, but it's quite interesting. I have been giving you the alliances that I believe will be in the Battle of Ezekiel 38. And it's a very strange makeup of nations when you see who will be allied with the nation of Israel. And it looked for a while like it might be heading in that direction, and then it looked like, oh, not now, because there's somebody, threw a monkey wrench into it. And now it's back on track, and I'm talking about an alliance between the nation of Israel and Saudi Arabia. Not according to my idea, according to the Word of God, the nation of Saudi Arabia will be allied with the nation of Israel. And now there are some people saying that Saudi Arabia may be the next Abraham Accord nation to enter into a treaty with Israel. All I'm going to say to you tonight is we are living in a time when things are going like this. Exactly what Jesus said in the book of Revelation. He said when this starts to happen, it's going to go like this. And that's what we are seeing. And it's interesting. And all I'm going to say to you is, do you know that the prophet Daniel and Isaiah said the prophets long to live in the day you and I are living in, the fulfillment of God's promises? I'll bet you that's pretty exciting, because all I can say is, I don't know why he loved me, I don't know why he cared, but I'm so glad he did. And I don't know why he deigned to have me living in this day, but I'm so glad he did. We are living in perilous times. We're living in a difficult time culturally, and I never thought, and I'm not even going to get into the thing that happened on the White House lawn, but just horrific. If you don't know, you don't want to know. But understand this, we're also living in a marvelous time, because we are living in a time of the fulfillment of prophecy that our parents read about, our grandparents read about, our great-grandparents read about, and we're living it. And God has a purpose for every one of our lives. And I think one of the reasons why we're doing this is to see if God could take care of every one of the children of Israel. And by the way, he knows where the descendants of every one of the children of Israel is today. And if he can do that, he can take care of his plan for our lives and bring it to a completion. That's what excites me. See, sometimes I teach and sometimes I get to preaching, because when I see what God is doing, I don't know about you, but I'm awed by God's love for us and his care for us, and the way he brings everything to fruition. So we said the Brigantes were also descended from Uriah of Asher, and they were located in southeast Ireland, and in northern England. Again, very close. Now, the Vandals in Europe, we believe, may be associated with the Veneti on the shores of the Baltic Sea. Now you should have your Baltic Sea map somewhere. So that contingent of Veneti in the west of Brittany, so they're moving, they're continuing to move. So as they move northwest, they eventually move to northwest Ireland. So now you know that the Brigantes are located in southeast Ireland. And now there's another contingent of Asher, and they move to northwest Ireland. So now you find descendants of the tribe of Asher were to be found in Ireland, as well as in northern England and lower Scotland. So again, where are they? Where are the family groups ending up with each other? So from this we see that Ireland is a primary domain of the tribe of Asher. Primary domain. Does that mean every Irish person is of Asher descent? No, but it means the primary location of most of the people groups descended from Asher are found in Ireland. And as we find with many of the tribes, parts of the tribe of Asher were known to be in Scandinavia and Northern Europe. Because again, remember, they migrated to different places at different times and still ended up in a primary area. A few Israelites who remained in northern Germany and Poland, and there were some of them, throughout the early migrations. Okay, so there were a group of people from the northern kingdom of Israel, and when they migrated, they kind of stopped for a longer period of time in the nations of Germany and Poland. And so, in other words, while others migrated further on from Europe, there was a few of them who remained in Germany and Poland, and then these individuals later migrated to America. So when they waited there for a longer period of time, and then they migrated to America, but they were descended from the tribe of Asher. So in other words, there are some descendants of the tribe of Asher who remained in the European countries of Germany and Poland, who migrated directly. They didn't come through Ireland. They migrated directly from Poland and Germany to the United States. However, Ireland is where Asher achieved their predominance. So Ireland is the place where most of the people groups of the tribe of Asher ended up. Now, the symbol of the tribe of Asher was an olive tree. And the stone for the tribe of Asher in the breastplate of the high priest was an onyx. Now, I know most of you, if I say onyx, you think of a black onyx. No. And I will just be honest with you. And when you begin studying the stones in the breastplate of the high priest, it's going to be very difficult because the stones have been given different names as time progresses and for different stones. And so you're probably, even if you say, well, I would like to see a picture of the stones in the breastplate of the high priest, and you may look at one picture and then you may get another picture and they're going to say, well, they're not the same colors or exactly the same colors. So I would say we believe that the onyx at the time the stones were inset into the breastplate of the high priest had a yellowish color similar to olive oil. When I say yellowish, greenish. One of the things that I got to taste in Jordan was, you know, you will go into Israel and you can get extra virgin olive oil, and I'm an extra virgin olive oil person. Not everybody is. But if you get extra virgin olive oil in Jordan, it is green. I mean green. Okay. But it's delicious. It's delicious. Not everybody, it was not, let's put it this way, it was not everybody's sip of olive oil, but it's mine. And I really love the extra virgin. And in Jordan, it's so extra virgin that it is green. And I do remember when we stayed in Amman, if you remember, well, we had several interesting experiences. It was all I could do to keep myself from I was going to say keep myself from getting arrested, but that would have already happened. So it was the second time keeping myself from getting arrested in Jordan. Because you're in a very, very restrictive society. And we went down to eat in the dining room, and here comes a couple in. And so they sit, and he manages to put his wife where she faces the wall. And he gets up, he goes to the salad buffet, and he gets his food, and he comes back, and he eats. And she's sitting there, and he gets up. You know, you're watching this just seething, right? And telling yourself, keep your mouth quiet, do not move, do not say anything. Because understand something, the one thing you need to learn, and I tell our people, you are in a foreign country and you obey their laws. And as hard as it may be. And by the way, you don't play around with that because you could almost sell somebody to a man horsing around. I learned that the hard way. But anyway, he had eaten his whole meal. Salad, dinner, soup, dessert. And then he gets up and he goes to the salad bar, gets a plate, and takes it to his wife. And that took place. In other words, she could not choose her own food, he chose her food for her. And she's literally covered from head to toe in black. So later we had gone out of the dining room and we were sitting there, and he brought her out and he sat her on a bench while evidently he took care of their bill. And what was so interesting, and you didn't want to look at her because that was going to create a problem too, so you kind of was looking out of the corner of your eye. And this is what I noticed out of the corner of my eye. And my mother was sitting next to me, and she went like this. And she was fascinated, probably by the way we were dressed, and she didn't seem to be terribly offended by the way we were dressed, because she every once in a while she'd put it down so she could see and then put it back up, and she was watching where he was all the time. But it was kind of an interesting thing. Now that came out of olive oil. So, and how many are kind of putting together some yellowish color? Okay. Green was not always the national color of Ireland. Are you aware of that? Even though within the Irish community here, there's always the wearing of the green, right?
Yeah.
Green. But it was not always the color of Ireland. Once it was saffron yellow, which really is a type of light orange. Anyone like saffron rice? Okay. Thank you. I'm with you. We were the only two in the class tonight raising our hands, but I love saffron rice. Very expensive. Very good. And it's a type of light orange. Now here's what's interesting. The color green in modern Hebrew is called what? Yarok. Yarok. Y-A-R-O-K. Anyone know what red is? I'm just asking to see if you know what red is. Adam.
Oh.
Adam. Anyone know what here and in Christian countries, this organization is called the Red Cross. The organization in Israel is called what? Magen David Adam, the Red Star of David. That was gratuitous. Now, in Hebrew today, so if you want to green something, you would say whatever it was, yorok. But years ago, it was also the word for yellow. Yorok was the word for yellow. You say, where are we going with this? Well, bear with me. Deuteronomy 33:24. And of Asher he said, Asher is most blessed of sons. Let him be favored by his brothers, and let him dip his foot in oil. What is interesting, where did most of the tribe of Asher end up? Well, they ended up in the area of the North Sea. And petroleum has been found in the North Sea between Scotland and Norway. And this was just an accident, right?
Nope.
No, I don't think so. It said he shall dip his foot in oil. So here is the predominance of the tribe of Asher. And I said this more than likely is not just a coincidental discovery. They have discovered oil in the area where the tribe of Asher is predominant. Now the name Asher in Hebrew is derived from a root. That root is Ashraka, and it means happy. And therefore the name Asher denotes happiness. And I've basically given you something there. I have a picture frame, and in that picture frame is a picture of my mother and her cousin. And what's on the picture, the outside of the picture frame itself says, "When Irish eyes are smiling." The Irish are known for a natural, happy disposition. And I know this is going to sound weird, but it's probably one of my favorite shows because it was one of the first programs one of the first programs I ever watched when we got TV, and that is Wagon Train. Now you say, where are we going with this? Because this week, they had a Wagon Train episode where there were a great group of Irish people that joined the wagon train going west. And this statement was actually made because they were singing all the time and music, and they were saying, "Oh, so I don't know about these people." And another person says, but they are such a happy people, and oh, listen to that music. And they are known to be a happy people, and they have a natural happy disposition. The Irish are always smiling, at least on St. Patrick's Day. Now, I dare say that many of people of anybody from Irish descent here. Yes. Yeah, we almost raised the hands. Many are familiar with a famous song by Chauncey Alcott and George Graff Jr. And the music is by Ernest Ball from 1912. And you say, why did you put that in there? Because I gave you the words. And in order to do that, I have to give. Because we're on YouTube, and because you are sitting with the words to this has to be done legally. So we as Christians try to be as legal as we can. Okay? And that song was often sung in my grandparents' home. I remember sitting in my grandparents' home hearing this song sung. When Irish eyes are smiling, sure 'tis like a morn in spring. In the lilt of Irish laughter, you can hear the angels sing. When Irish hearts are happy, all the world seems bright and gay. And when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they steal your heart away. And isn't it funny? You sing a song about Irish people, and this is their disposition, and they're always smiling, and you go all the way back to the son of Jacob Israel, who was named Asher, happy. And then, no matter how far his descendants migrated, they end up in a place where they are known for being smiling and happy, and a few other things. But the tribe of Asher produced exceptionally fine warriors. Remember what I just said? I said a few other things. What? How many have ever heard of a shillelagh? Yes. When I lived in Virginia Beach, I came to dearly love this lady. And I mean, she was very, very, very elderly then. And she had a shillelagh. And she carried it. You know, when we'd go out walking, she'd carry it. Okay. She said, and she was very, very, very Irish. And she said, don't worry, I can use this. I can use this. I know how to. And she started swinging it around, and I just backed off. I said, okay. Well, they were good warriors, and they were famous for their military prowess. I'm going to read to you from Deuteronomy 33:29. You can look there if you want to, or you can look it up. It says, happy are you, O Israel, who is like you, a people saved by the Lord, the shield of your help, and the sword of your majesty. Your enemies shall submit to you, and you shall tread down their high places. How many know that there is the Irish, the southern part of Ireland, they have their freedom. And they won it. Badly. Britain, England. But they were known for their prowess even before. Do you know what the most valued military decoration the British Armed Forces is? It is the Victoria Cross. The Victoria Cross. Now, this is what's interesting about this. Irish, I-R-I-S-H, Irish soldiers in British service have received many more awards of the Victoria Cross proportionally for the number of soldiers they have, percentage-wise.
Irish.
Irish soldiers, yes. Irish soldiers in British service have received many more awards of the Victoria Cross proportionately, that's percentage-wise, than any other military group in service in the United Kingdom. They are known. And it is a high honor. And many times, even the British royal family today will give honor to the Irish Guard, because they are so well known for their loyalty and their service. Now, and this will probably be our last note tonight, but the destinations of the Israelites from their exile migrations, this is the thing I've said, seem to parallel, first of all, their encampments in the wilderness. They end up close to the very tribal people groups that they were a part of when they camped around the tabernacle in the wilderness. And I'm just going to give another kind of a statement about the tabernacle in the wilderness, the way they camped. How many know that everything in the tabernacle, all of the services in the tabernacle, all of the vestments, all of the offices of the priest and the workings of the priest, all point in one direction to Jesus Christ and his work. All of it. And if you were up in a helicopter looking down at the encampment around the tabernacle of the tribes, what would it form? A cross. It all was pointing. Do you understand why? And by the way, I am now further into Romans, getting ready for when we move out of here and get back into Romans. Do you understand why even Paul talked about how blind his people were? That they didn't. All of that was done, and they get to the New Testament, and Jesus comes on the scene, and they miss it. Everything pointed to, everything, even the way these offerings were offered, what was done with the offering, the names of the offering, and they missed it. But guess what? They're going to come around. Many have, many more will. And there's coming a day when it says they will look upon him whom they have pierced and mourn. And that's why I love that song that we sing a lot, and I go singing it around the house myself. And they'll mourn. Will mourn for him. Daughters of Zion. So, the destination of the Israelites from their exile migrations parallel the encampments in the wilderness. They also parallel their positions in their land allotments in Israel. So when they came out of the wilderness, went into the promised land, and where they got their land allotments parallel where they've ended up in groups. So when considering this, the tribe of Asher would need to be found either in Ireland, Scotland, or Scandinavia. Because that's where all the other tribes they were aligned with prior to the exile in their encampment, and now they're in the same place. So guess what? Elements of Asher are found in all these places. Exactly where you would think, well, they should be found in Ireland, Scotland, or Scandinavia. Well, they're found in all three of them. However, Ireland is where Asher, of course, is predominant. Okay, we're going to stop here, and then next week we will go through the people groups of Asher. We'll take okay, 28.
Next week.
Oh, no, not next week. Next week, no, the 28th, thank you, not next week. We will not have class next week. Unless, if you come here, you might have a very interesting class in this classroom.
Really?
Right.
My friends, great granddaughter,
We're so happy that we're so Asherite happy that you joined us for this class tonight. If you would like to give in response to the teachings that you have received, it's very easy to do so. If you are local, you can drop it in the drop box in the lobby of the church, or you can do it the old-fashioned way, mail it in. I would love to hear from you if you have a question, a comment. I would love to hear from you. Is the class being a blessing to you? Have you begun to realize how big God's plan is and how much He loves you because you're a part of His plan? And we would love to hear from you. If you are local in the class, you can put in an offering in the Joash chest. It helps us to continue to be able to record the classes and do the handouts and the materials. Thank you. It matters to me that you take the time to tune in or be in class. And I pray that this class will continue to be a blessing to you. If you want to know where we're going to go after we finish the tribes, we're going to go into the 10th chapter of the book of Romans. So we will not meet next week. So if you're watching from wherever you're watching in the world, there will not be a lesson uploaded a week from tonight, okay? It will be 2 weeks from tonight, there will be one uploaded. So we are giving up our classroom where we record to our children's camp program, and they're going to be using this room and doing a lot of things and learning more and more about Jesus and desiring to follow Him. And we know that many decisions for Christ, many commitments of lives to Christ are made in our camping program. So next week, if you remember to do that, please pray for our children that they would receive, that if they do not yet know Jesus as personal Savior, that will be done in our camping program. Thank you again for watching, and the Lord bless you real good. And be like Asher, be happy. Sister Sharon.